George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Coach D. Darrel Andrews, Syracuse native from the projects, Fowler High School, now PSLA Fowler, is in the house. And you may call him an author, you may call him a motivational speaker, you may call him a trainer, but please do call him a coach. You name it, he's doing it. His business has really taken off. And he was just in our pre-conversation before y'all got in the room. He was telling me how things are really transforming. So I invited him on because I'm interested in a word for our youth in our community. Look, on the show today, or we will be talking in the next hour with Sam Rouser, who runs On Point for College, and of course, providing opportunities for young people. And so Darrell now, Coach D, is going to give us the word, because in the beginning was the word.
And the word was God. And
the word, okay. But the thing, but what we want to be able to do is, how do young people who may not see the opportunities that are right there for them, how do we help them as adults in the community that mean well, as peers who oftentimes may not get the validation that they need to stay the course? I want to give our parents a word that will motivate and help these youth accelerate so that they can do the best that they can. I know you have some other stuff that you also have in the pocket that we can also talk about. But that includes your work in DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and mental health. So let's hit them all. Let's hit it out of the park and hit them all in the time that we have. About a little less than half hour to do this. Let's go.
George, let me say this. First of all, man, you're right. I'm PH, born and raised, Memorial Hospital, all that, man. That's me. You know what I mean? Lived on McBride Street for a long time and grew up there. And I'm proud to say I did. There were good folks around there, man. Family, my grandmother was there. My uncle was there. My aunt was there. The Neal brothers, Terry, Roy, and Tom were there.
Come on.
Those are my big brothers, man. I can go on and on. So I tell you something, I probably wear that badge, brother, proudly, because a lot of how I was shaped as a man started back then. And it was some good people, man. But I'm going to share something that we've not shared before. And I'm going to talk about my mama, okay? My mom had me, she was 19 when she had me. She had my brother at 17, all right? Unfortunately, things didn't work out well for she and my father, so they separated. And so here's a woman in her 20s, with these little boys over at the PH, right on McBride Street. And she realized something at a very young age, and I want parents to hear me because this is important. She realized, George, that she was the greatest influence on our lives. And that the example that she established, no matter what our situation was going to be the model that we pursued. So my mom, at a very young age, she had dropped out of school. She dropped out. And so there was a program with an organization. Remember, I don't know if they're around anymore. It used to be called Paulson Business Institute. Many years ago.
Yeah, it's probably got a different name now.
Right?
But on James Street, was it still on James Street? Yeah. Okay.
Years ago. But they had a workforce program. And they literally, man, way back then, they would go and knock on doors and introduce. And they knocked on ours and they said, hey, we have this workforce program and you can learn job skills and all that. And they gave my mom some information. She did what most people did. She put it down.
By the way, it's called Brandon Stratton today. That's what it's called.
There it is, Brandon Stratton. That's right. Yep, there it is. And so she picked up that information. And I think at the moment she realized, I need to do something. I want to show my boys something. So you know what she did, man? She entered that program, man. And she went back to school. She was, I think she had dropped out in the 9th grade, but she went back and she got her GED, man. And also was named the class valedictorian. I was kind of proud of my mama, man. Hey, George, and she had the nerve to wear, when she gave her class valedictorian speech, she had a full-length leather suit on, brother.
Come on now, mama. If you don't know, you better ask somebody.
You don't know, now you want to know. And so I've always had linguistic intelligence, brother. So my mom was up there on stage. I said, Mom, you sure look hot up there, girl. And she said, I know, baby. I said, no, Mom, it's hot because it's June and it's 90 degrees. You got to have a suit on. He said, shut that mouth, boy.
That's great.
But from there, my friend, what they promised her. Now, keep in mind, she's not saying anything else. We're just watching. We're watching. They said to her, now we want to go to the next phase. Let's see if we can find employment. So she went and interviewed, and she landed one job with John Deere. That fell apart after a couple of months. They went back. This organization worked with her again. And George, she landed a job with a company by the name of Allegheny Airlines. Remember a long time ago at the Money Building?
Yes.
At the Money Building?
That's right.
Reservations at Allegheny. And then it changed its name to U.S. Air.
Right. That's right.
And then it became American.
That's
right.
So
now let's paint this picture. Here are these little boys in this situation. It was, like I said, it wasn't all bad because it's, family and friends. We do what we got to do, but we didn't have much. We didn't have money. We had situations very similar to what you see here in the Qs. They existed back then. And so now, because she made this decision, she's now working for the airlines. And so now it's like, I've always wanted you boys to see something. So now, because when you work for the airline, you don't have to pay for your kids to go anywhere. So we hopping on planes and flying to Phoenix, Arizona and flying. And now my mind is opening up because I'm seeing things I've never seen before. So I'm trying to say this because people probably listening to me and say, oh, you're lucky or whatever. No, man, this didn't have to do with luck. She had an option. And she could have easily said, I don't want nothing to do with this. But this is what she decided, what I'm trying to eventually get to. She decided as a parent, I'm going to be the role model.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be the example. I don't care what's going on all around me. It doesn't matter. I am responsible for doing the best I can so those kids have a pattern that they can follow. To you parents out there, I wrote a book. I don't even know this, George. You may know of it, but it's entitled "The Parent is Coach."
Oh yeah, we've had you on to talk about that book.
Yeah, developing a family dream team. And the thing I'm trying to say, the parent, you're the coach of the team. Don't look at your situation and think it's hopeless because it never is. My mom could have easily said it was hopeless, but she didn't. And so, for my parents out there, and I have something for the community too. But for my parents, don't make any excuses. If these are your children, you love them enough. You love them enough to do your absolute best to provide an example. Even if you have older kids, you say, well, coach, it may seem too late. My kids are teenagers. Doesn't matter. Parents have tremendous influence and they can be phenomenal role models. If my mom could do it back in her early 20s with 2 boys and an 8th grade education, it can be done, George. And so the first thing I would say is to the parents, what are you showing your children?
Yeah. What are you showing them? Right?
What are you showing them? What are you saying to them? You know what, man? Let me tell you something, George. This is a parenting tip. My mom, we were 2 little knucklehead boys. Come on, man. You know how the little boys run around getting everything, breaking stuff. Getting everything we could get our hands on. She hardly ever raised her voice. She popped us on the back of our head every night. But she didn't raise her voice. And this is what she told me later on. And I never forget this. I said, where do you get this wisdom at such a young age? She said, I didn't want you to have to feel a female, a woman raising her voice at you because I knew one day you were going to be a husband. I said, you could have written a book, and I wanted as a mother to respect the man in you when you were a little boy. George, talk to me about that one right there. How powerful is that, man?
That's very powerful. Yeah. Respect the man that's in you from a little boy. And we need to see more of that.
We need to see more.
We need to see more respect, period.
Yeah. Because but think about the words, man, from a mother, because a lot of times the mothers are having the greatest influence. I'm respecting the man in you when you're 6, 7, 8. So when you grow up, your manhood is never challenged. You feel solid in who you are. And she knew this in her 20s, man. And so think about that. So with mothers out there, like moms, those aren't little boys in your house. Those are future men.
Right.
Dads, you ain't got to teach your boy I'm gonna make you a man, boom, beat you in your pump. You gotta be a man. You gotta be. No, man, I got 2 boys. Hug them. Tell them I love you, man. I believe in you. What's your dreams?
For a lot of us of our generation,
Yeah,
the
man.
hardest thing sometimes is to tell your kiddo, I love you. Right?
Yeah.
Why do we struggle with that so?
Because we deal, George, with historical perspectives. So manhood for us has been shaped by the paradigm that we've been around. So what do? We keep duplicating it. So I'm gonna show my children, you're gonna be tough, or because I'm a man, men don't do stuff like that. That's not what men do. We don't tell kids to love them. We don't do that. But when you look at, let's jump into something else, George, mental health.
Right.
So when you start talking about mental health issues and challenges with self-acceptance and actualization and all these things, a lot of times kids are that way to become adults because they never got those seeds planted in their lives over the years.
And if they don't get it at home, they will find it somewhere else.
And they do find it, my friend.
Right.
They will find it because there's somebody that's going to say something to them. And there's somebody that's going to try to encourage them to do certain things. So I know we're spending an exorbitant amount with the parents, but we got to understand our words have power.
Mm-hmm.
And our example even speaks louder. Now, I ain't sitting here trying to say I was the perfect parent. Let's clarify that.
All right. So so let's hear one of your faux pas. What's one of the things that you did? You're like, okay, all right, Coach D, you got to do better. So what's one of the things that you say, okay, yeah.
This is going to be interesting, man. And this is a total flip the script type of conversation. But I love, my story. I love my kids. I got 4 beautiful kids.
Right.
But let me say something now. This is going to seem kind of oxymoronic because I'm saying one thing, but I'm about to say another. Okay. Sometimes you got to be careful that in your quest to do a lot for your kids, that you don't teach them how to do a lot for themselves.
Hello. Come on.
You understand what I'm saying? And so I think if there's been anything that I kind of probably should have been a little bit more on, okay, I love you, I care about you, I'm doing for you, but I got to show you a little bit more about you're going to step out these doors and you're going to go out into society and you're going to have to deal with the same stuff I dealt with growing up. So I think if there's something I could have probably done, not that I've done bad at it, but if I could have done better, I probably could have, because it is, we're going to work hard, man. We're going to create this better life for our kids. But then we're not teaching our kids the principles that we've learned that help us get that better life.
Sure.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a Coach D one right there. And again, my kids are doing well. They're doing wonderful. But I think I could have done a lot better with that. Yeah.
And so when you think about that in terms of, we're not parents, we're not perfect parents.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, remember that your job is to parent, right? I mean, that's the other piece, right? Yeah. If you have children or people or youth that you're responsible for in your life, they're going to need guidance from you.
They're going to need guidance, man. They're going to need guidance. And here's the thing you got to understand. There's certain things in life. I think about license, George, getting a license. So if you get an automobile, drive a car, you got to get licensed. You got to go take classes and courses. You got to take tests. I failed mine 3 times. Syracuse, I broke the Syracuse record for failing the driving test. Folks just got tired of seeing me.
Okay, real quick. What messed you up on your test?
I couldn't parallel park.
Oh, wow.
I was a terrible parallel park. So I always would fail that part of the test. And so I finally got it together later on in life. But, but we got to understand, man, being a parent ain't no license. You know what I mean? So you just parent. You have a kid, you haven't learned a lot. You haven't been taught or trained anything. And so you have this child, but now you got to raise him. What's the blueprint? What's the manual?
Yeah.
You see, so what happens is we raise them based upon past experiences or what somebody else may say when it comes to raising kids and what we see in our community. And so then you start to see kids grow up a certain way because that's just the way it's always been. But that's why I wrote the book, The Parent as Coach, George, because I realized I'm the coach of this team. I'm not, listen, you know me, man, I got kids everywhere. And what I mean by that, I mentor. I got kids all over this country.
Right.
You know, but in my home, my wife and I are the head coaches. And the head coaches have to have a strategy for the team to win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know any coaches that's going to say to players, let's go out there and play. We'll figure it out. Now, we did it back in the Q's. We called it pickup games. You know, we were at Kirk Park and every park we can get into, Thornton Park. We're picking it up. We're getting it going, man. But the reality is with parenting, you got to be the coach of your team. Now, check this out. And I want you to chime into this one because I know you appreciate this. Then you have to really pick some real good assistant coaches.
True, right?
Who's going to influence your kids? Yeah. Aunts, uncles, family members, community lead people.
And the truth of the matter is everybody don't get in your game.
That's right.
Hey, some folks never get in your game. They go right the bench. They don't get to play. No. They ain't playing. Or you may be assistant coach with a very short job because you're in there one week, but you off the next because you want to make sure there's people that love your kids like you do, man. Kids need to know, like we grew up, I was in Q's, George. It's like every other house you have somebody talking to you. You know what I mean? It's times have changed a little bit, but back then, man, you couldn't even get in trouble if you wanted to half the time because somebody was always in your grill. So parent is coach, head coach, assistant coach. Yeah. That's that side of it. So now what is it that our youth need in order for them to excel and succeed? Coach D will have that answer when we come back. Inspiration for the Nation. Welcome back, George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation. We are with Coach D. Darrel Andrews, and we're talking about how we motivate our youth in the community, focusing on the parents. And now, Coach D, what we got for the youngins? Listen to this, George. Before we say something about the youngins, I want to complete the circle a little bit. Yes, sir. Talk about the people who are not parents but community. Yes. So, and that's important because that's the village, right? So you talk about who building this team of support. Yeah, building this team of support as a parent, but even if not, the village, the community, the people in our town and city. I can go and give you a list of people as I would walk through that town. Mm-hmm. Hey, little boy, come over here. You know, there's people that were there that they recognized you as a young person and cared about you. You know what I mean? And so the community has to understand. There's a lady, her name is Dr. Janice Hickey. She talked about this thing called the I can't remember the quite name of it, but it's a name that talks about connections. And what she did some research around if a child doesn't even have a parent, all right, somebody else can fill the void. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? The attachment theory is called, actually, the attachment theory. And so that child can, in essence, get the same kind of direction because that person is not a parent, but they care just like one. So what I'm saying in our community is, I'm just going to be honest with you, man, we got to start really loving our kids, man. Mm-hmm. We got to, when you see a young person, you know me, George, I'm always coming home. I'm speaking all the time. Tell them you love them, man. How's it going? You doing all right, young person? They need to feel that ongoing love from not just mom and dad, but from all those folks. So let's not be so concerned about running programs all the time. Let's look at, you hear what I'm saying? Let's look at what we do when I'm in front of a young person. There ain't no program associated with it. You know what I mean? If I see a young person walk down the street, how you doing, young person? My wife said, you speak. I said, yeah, because I don't know who that young person is over there. But when I see him, I want them to know somebody's paying attention in a positive way because we don't know. So the parents are important, but that community, man, I'm telling you something. Yeah. Go ahead. Hold that thought. You're going to tell me something. Hold that thought. Yeah. By default, then, we are not doing that right now is what I'm hearing. We're not doing that right now. Yeah. We're extremely judgmental of this generation. Yeah, we are. And listen, but there's a reason why. Look at social media. Look at the news. Right. Look at what's printed about our children. Right. So we buy into the narrative. And so that same child, I'm supposed to be saying, I believe in you, we're trying to avoid sometimes. Right, right. You see? So, yeah. So come back to your point you were going to make.
Yeah, that kind of was the point.
Oh, okay.
that was kind of the point I was going to make. We need to make sure that we are literally just, as a community, looking for opportunities. Listen, let me say this. Zig Ziglar is a speaker. You may have heard of him, and he was one of my early mentors. And I've actually had conversations with him on the phone. Know what he said? Be a good finder.
A good finder. All right, say more about that.
You see some young person doing something, man, let them, that's really good. That's good that you're doing that. Educators in school, stop looking for all the negative. You see some young person do something that's positive, let them know you saw it, you noticed it. Because the young people today are used to people seeing the negative. So they're traumatized. It's almost like PTSD. They're like, I know it's coming. They're going to say something to me. So instead of, absorbing care and compassion, they're absorbing defeat and all. And so, the schools are huge because those teachers have them for 8 hours a day. So I know sometimes there could be challenges and struggles, but look for the good. You see, so I wanted to close that out, man, because it's truly a collective effort. And for those of you wondering, who's this guy talking about? I've been in every state multiple times. I've interacted with state departments of education, schools and school districts, community organizations all over this country. So I'm not just saying this.
Right.
I'm in the mix with this stuff and have helped shape a lot of these paradigms. But to the young people, there's two things I want to say that I want y'all to get. And George, you've heard me say this before, but I got to say it again.
Come on.
That is, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Oh, yeah. You
show me 5 people you hang around, I'm going to show you what you're going to become. And let me say this to these young folks that's listening, that think, well, coach, you don't understand. That's my boy. That's my girl. That's my dog. The question you got to ask yourself is, do you love you? And if you love yourself enough, you're going to be very careful about what happens to self. So what I feel a lot of times is our young people, because of the societal norms that have been established, feel a strong need to conform instead of fight for their future. And fighting for your future is not going to make you popular. It may not make you in with everybody. But George, I'm going to say this in a joking way, but then years down the road, you're being interviewed on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Inspiration for the nation, because you refuse to conform. I did not conform. Even though the pressure was there to do it. Now, it wasn't perfect, but I didn't conform. And I lived my life based upon a set of principles that led me to where I am today. So when I was in Houston, I played sports. Was I the most popular? No. Was I the most well-known? Not at all. But I knew what I wanted.
All right, but let me say this. Let me add a layer to what you're saying.
Sure.
But things were so much simpler then, right?
Oh, yeah.
We have social media pressures, absolutely, the bullying and all of these things, the pressure to conform. Something happens and then I'm gonna meet you outside. Every generation has its thing to deal with. And we've got social media that, like I think I was telling you earlier that I posted something and people coming for me,
Hey man, listen, you're gonna get attacked. Anytime you post anything on social media, you're gonna get attacked.
Right. They call me all kinds of names. They don't know me like that. But if I'm somebody else, I might get engaged in that. And then next thing you know, there's a knock at the door or something. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Yeah. It is challenging. Brother, I would be lying if I didn't say that.
Yeah. These
young folks, I remember I spoke at one of the schools and this young man said something, and it was, doing Tony Davis had me up there. And I went to one of the schools, and the young man said something to me that would really touch my heart. It really did, George. I'm just going to be straight up candid about what he said. He said, Mr. Andrews, I know what you're trying to say. That's what he said. I know what you're trying to say, but my daily reality, it's difficult for me to understand it because of my daily reality.
Yeah.
And I understood exactly what he was talking about. So I'm there to motivate and inspire, but he's thinking, when I leave this building,
I got something else I got to deal with.
You know what I mean? And so what did I do? I said, man, so I saw him, I gave him a hug. I said, man, you know what? I get it. It's tough. But let me tell you something that I've lived by. My situation was different than yours.
Go ahead.
And I told him, but this is something I've always lived by. And I want our young people to hear this. I have no control over situations and scenarios in which I have no control of. In other words, if I was born in a situation, if I was raised in a situation, that's difficult. I got to find a way to maneuver. I got to find a way to cope. I got to find a way to get through this. But this is what I told him. You don't have any control over now, but you got all the control over the world over tomorrow.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
You can say, this is not the life I want to live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on getting my education. I'm going to focus on my dreams, even in the midst of the chaos, because there's story after story after story of people who've been in some of the worst situations. But that dream was so compelling that they found a way in the midst of it.
In the midst of it, George. And so the point I'm making to these young folks is, yes, it's hard. I don't live in the Q's. I know I don't, I haven't been in the Q's in a long, man, I'm getting old, George. Ain't been up there, but no, let me rephrase that. I don't live there, but I live there. Understand what I mean, brother? Right,
That's my home. I come home all the time.
Right.
But the point I'm making is, you don't have control over now, but man, you can write the ticket for later. And you can say, I want this and I want that. I want to accomplish this. And listen, while you're listening to social media and all that, don't get caught up in the hype. Don't compare your life to somebody that's on a screen, on a cell phone, or
right.
Because that's not your life. Your life is yours, not theirs. So don't feel like you're beneath or belittled because you don't have certain things or certain people. Who cares? That's their life. Like you said, there's some folk that we won't go into the detail, but you kind of just had this conversation that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They still a mess.
Yes. Right. And you ain't lying. Hundreds of millions
of dollars.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
renting out ballparks and things of that nature.
And a mess.
Okay.
Everybody think, if I can just get rich, man. Some of the folks with their rich are saying, I don't like being rich. Listen, man, there's this guy, seriously, George, let me digress for 2 seconds, but there's this guy I spoke at a conference in Orlando. And that's when I wrote my book, How to Find Your Passion to Make a Living In. I'm pushing on 10 books now, man, but How to Find Your Passion. And I'm down there speaking, man, this older Caucasian guy was there, man. And I'm like, look, he looked kind of out of place at this seminar. And I'm like, and then after the seminar, he looked out of place and checked out what he told me. He came up and said, man, what are you doing here? I said, this doesn't seem like it's supposed to be an event for you. He said, Coach, let me tell you something. He said, you know why I came here? He said, I saw the article in the paper and saw that you were here because I wanted to talk to you. And this is what he said to me. He said, I've owned 4 businesses, sold all of them. He said, right now, Coach, I'm sitting on top of $65 million from the sale of my businesses. He said, I have all the money in the world, but no sense of significance.
Ooh.
No meaning. He said, I came here today because I was hoping I can find some and you help me.
Amen.
Boom. Now, George, I had to add a little something to it just to bring the humor part. I said, so this is what I told him. I said, oh man, I'm so glad I helped you, but this is what we'll do. You give me 30 of those million.
And you feel really significant. I'll help you.
We can help you with some significant.
I'll help you with some significant. That would be a significant way to help a brother out. Right. All right. So listen.
But he walked away feeling lifted up.
I need to leave my youth with something to take with, and my parent and my community and everything as we wrap.
Let me say this to the young people: dream. Dream. And I'm not talking about this false reality dreaming stuff, dream about the kind of life you want to live. Dream about, the future that you want to create. You didn't create where you are now, but you can create where you're going. Create it, get it in your mind, get it in your head. Find friends that support it. You don't need a bunch of folks, just a few. That say, I believe in you. 5, 4, 5 of them.
Yes.
Don't try to be popular with everybody. and you do what I call do life together. There's folks like us, we've known each other a long time. There's people in the queues I've done life with. You know what I mean? And we're on the same page. We want to do certain things. So young people, please don't stop dreaming. And when you dream, don't have the kind of dreams that are these false fabricated dreams. You know what I mean? Look in a certain way. I'm going to be this, or I'm going to be a celebrity this, I'm going to be, no, just have a dream, a home, a family, things like that. To the parents, be an example. My mom said something that was so profound. She said, if I never find a role model for my boys, I'm going to be one.
Amen.
Keep that in mind. And to the community, don't judge the kids, love them. Love them. Man,
as hard as it is.
As hard as it can be, it don't matter.
Love them.
You see them? Love them.
Yeah.
Because the Bible says love never fails. And when that young person feels like you care, that's transformative. Let me say this, and this is not something I'm proud of, but I'm so glad that I've used my voice the way I have. I've probably prevented about 20-something kids from checking out of here. Literally, the one girl showed me a note and said, I was done. And she said, when you said that a student with a dream is a student with a future, she said, I have a future.
I love it.
And she said, why am I going to end now? And she gave me the biggest hug and she cried. Man, I canceled a plane flight. I was in Illinois. I canceled it. I was going to spend time with this girl right here.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that. I could have said, oh, good, honey.
Good, honey. See you later.
See you later. No, man, I stayed there. I found the local minister. I said, his wife, older couple, I said, this young girl needs some love. And she said she hadn't had clothes or anything. And I said, man, here's $500. Take her shopping. Get her some clothes. And that girl graduated from high school, went to college, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. We got work to do. Let's love them, not judge them.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Coach D is in the house. Coach D.
I'm just loving my town, brother. I'm just here to deposit. That's what I'm here to do.
Coach D. Darrel Andrews, CoachDSpeaks.com.
Yes.
See all the work he's doing. When's the latest book coming out, or is it already out?
We're working on a book, 2 books at the same time, man. But the one that I'm working on called Empowering Self-Care should be out by the summer.
Okay.
And then there's another book that's coming out by the end of the year entitled Diversity is not a head issue. It's a heart issue.
All right. Coach D, we love you. We appreciate you.
Love you, man. Seriously.
Inspiration for the nation.